All right, welcome back to another live. And now I'm going to be working on my currently inked. So, this is something that I'm continuing, not starting afresh, because what I've been doing lately is instead of doing currently inked every month, I've been doing a seasonal currently inked because I've had several pens inked up and I usually do a partial fill on them. But in that time, one particular pen, if not used super regularly, can last an entire season, like 3 months. So I've taken on this approach and it's been working fine for me, and I've really enjoyed it because I need a little bit more of an easygoing schedule than monthly, just with how things have been going for me. So, what I do lately is I'm in a past notebook. So I get passport sized inserts. And I've tried various ones. I've tried the Chalvers Company ones with the more Midori MD paper. I quite like those and I use them for my planner system. But as far as blank inserts go, for doing this kind of spread, I've also tried Tomo River paper, which I don't care for because when I stamp, it I don't know if it would be accurate to say it bleeds through, but it's quite harsh on the reverse side, and so I find myself only using one-sided pages, which I find very wasteful. So my favorite, and I'll tell you why. My favorite has been these Yamamoto paper passport inserts, and these are the Robiki Note Museum series. It says 5 millimeter dot pages, 60 pages, made in Japan. My understanding is this is Yamamoto paper, and I think it might be Yamamoto Bank, but I'm not certain about that. So this is really nice paper. I would say that I prefer it over Midori MD, and both because of the paper and because I love, absolutely love, the covers and the binding on these little notebooks. So this is the museum series, as it said previously. So they have different artwork, and then this cover is waxed, so you'll feel like that kind of finished waxy feeling on it, and it's also stitched. So versus the Midori MD, most of the time, except on special releases, the covers are just a solid color and the binding is stapled, which I don't prefer. So, like I said, I've been doing this seasonally. So, usually I'll put a couple of pictures and then note that it's spring, summer, and when I started. So, this particular one is my summer currently ink spread. And I think from now on out, I'll be stamping it. I recently got one of these stamps that will date stamp with the month, date, and year. That way I can see when I start and finish. But I've been putting more effort into my currently inked lately. And as I said, so far it's been seasonal, so this is my summer one. And I've filled this page. So now I'm going to go ahead and continue it because summer is not over yet. And I'm hoping to time it so that by the end of each season, so the end of summer, this Yamamoto passport notebook will be filled and I'll be ready to transition to a new notebook for autumn. So I'm going to go over some more things that I've really been enjoying. As I said, I've been putting more effort into my currently inked, and so I've been using Sterling ink. Sterling ink is really my sticker favorite. I don't do stickers often, but I really love the artwork on the Sterling ink, so I have quite a number of them, and I just use them as I go. But because curly inked is not a very fancy spread, I have been using some of the Sterling ink stickers that maybe I'm happy to see go. Not particular favorites. And then I've also been using the stamps, so clear stamps, and these. Alright, so these are the clear stamps that I've been using. It's the Everyday Explorer Co. And this is the currently inked stamps. So you can see, I don't use every single one of them. I don't usually rate my ink. I have a pretty vivid recollection of the ink and what my opinion of it was. So I don't usually do that. And I have done the brand and name, but it takes up more room, and I lately have been enjoying something more compact. So I just switched it up. But this is what I've been putting more effort into, using clear stamps, using some Sterling ink stickers. And sometimes I do fill these bottles with, like using a watercolor brush or a glass spoon or something like that, more generously. But lately I just have been using the pen, and I think that gives a good representation of the ink so far. The other thing I've been doing is, if I bring you in a little closer, you'll see under each bottle I've been marking what type of where the ink has come from. So the ones that were samples, I've marked as sample. And I need to update this one because this was a bottle. Then when this pen and ink pairing has been ran dry and cleaned out, I check it, indicating that that is gone and finished. So that's a good way for me to know when I'm done with that pairing. So I'm going to update this page, and then we're going to move on and decorate the next page and talk about some inks and some ink comparisons. But I'll go over now what I've finished. So we have the Visconti Viscontina. I'll share my pens while we're doing this. Why not? People seem to like seeing the pens in everyone's collection. So this is my Visconti Viscontina. It's a vintage, and it's got a medium nib. I like how large the nib is for the pen size. I also have a custom ground architect on it, done by, oh, his name will come to me. Sorry, I'll have to think about that for a second. So yeah, I'll have to come back to that. I'll circle back. Nib Taylor, that's what it is. I know if I just calm down for a second, I can think of it. It's a custom architect by Nib Taylor. I really like it. And I had it paired with Mont Blanc Burgundy Red. I loved this pairing, and I'll be doing this again, but most likely I'll be doing it again in the autumn. Um, I enjoyed it. I just am enjoying like brighter colors for the moment. Next up is the Aurora Optima 365. So this is a limited Aurora pen, and I'll show it to you. It's right here. I think the pairing was lovely. I was looking for something a little bit more vibrant for the season, and I think it worked out fantastically. I really liked it, and I loved the name of the ink as well, California Poppy. And I definitely think that I am one person, I think as many others, who the name of an ink definitely affects my opinion of it. It adds to the fun. If this was just called something like, muted orange or something like that, I don't think I'd be as interested and invested in the ink as I was. Then I have my Mont Blanc 221. This is a vintage pen also. So this is it. It's quite a small pen, very lean, snap cap. I really love the inlaid nib with that kind of crown shaping around it. And this has a gouache grind by the Nib Taylor as well. I'm extremely fond of this grind and the way it writes with the pen. And then this was inked with Kyono Kokiro, and I really loved this a lot. I really love that ink, and it wrote beautifully. So that's a pairing that I would definitely do again. Next up, we have the Pineider Ruffles Gold in the extra fine quill nib. Now you'll see that it doesn't have a check on it, which means it's still inked up. And thank you, Sajad. Yes, I love that Visconti as well. And I love, like you mentioned, the feminine touch to it. The nib itself actually has a heart breather hole, which is very darling. So yeah, this is the Pineider's Ruffles Gold in the Antici Materiali. It's an extra fine quill nib, which I love writing with. And this is my favorite pairing ever with this pen. So this is the Ink Mazaru Sweet Treat. It's almost gone. I have a little bit more of the ink sample, and actually my pen friend Lisa is going to pick me up another bottle from M. Lovewell in California. Yes, I love the amber color of the Aurora also. It's the brown. There were two browns. This one's like mixed brown. I forget what the technical name was. But yeah, I really like it a lot. So Sweet Treat. And I love this ink. I can show you the swatch of it also, but it's kind of a pinkish brown, and I think it's lovely. It's not like, I would say, on tone with the general hues of this pen necessarily, but I just love the pairing very much. So I'll be doing that again. I'm almost written dry with this one. So at that point, I'll be inking it, but I think I'll ink it up with a different brown this time. Maybe something a little lighter. Then my Aurora Optima, this is the Viola in extra fine with J. Herbin Rossier. And this is such a unique color. I really love it. It does show darker in video and on like photography photos also, but it's very lovely. And I have an extra fine flex on it. It was custom ground into an extra fine by Mike Masuyama, and this is one of my favorite writers. The combination of the Aurora flex nib, you can see the shape of those tines, of the nib in general, and then the combination of that and the extra fine point that Mike Masuyama put on there, I really like a lot. And likewise, it's not checked off yet because it's still inked up. Then I have my Karas Vertex in White Delrin. This is my everyday carry pen. Let's see. There we go. Have it in my everyday carry rickshaw sleeve. This is a great pen. I love the feel, the tactile feel. Oh, so back to the Aurora. I don't have a Gocha nib. I actually have the Flex. I would love to try the extra fine Gocha. Oh, I'll have to compare the Viola to the Nebulosa Aurora Light. That's a good question. I'll have to look that up because I'd be curious about that. I'm going to screenshot so I can look it up. So this White Delrin is an industrial material similar to Ultem, and I have a titanium extra fine. This is a Bach nib on it, and I have two grip sections on this for this pen rather. The one I use in spring and summer is this Coke bottle. It's transparent with a very slight bluish green hue, and then the other one is the one that came with it, which is a metal olive color, which I like also, but I use it for autumn and winter. So this pairing was beautiful. I inked it 3 times with this ink, with this sample that I received, and it was a perfect match. Well-behaved ink. It was the Dominant Industry Atlantis. So it's not... I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd give like the ink probably a 9 out of 10 if I was ranking it. But it's not something I would buy a bottle of. The reason being that I have another blue that I prefer is the Chicken in the Sky with Sparkling Diamonds, Dominant Industry collab with Wonder Pens. That's usually what I have paired with this, but I like trying different inks and things like that. So I don't have a problem with that. It's just not something I'd buy again. So, or I'd buy a bottle of. And then finally, the Aurora 88 Volterra with the Flex Fine. I actually got this pen, and unfortunately it had a crack in it, and I had to send it back for repair. It's a gorgeous pen. Definitely a favorite of my collection, even though newly added. But it had a crack, and several cracks actually, and I had to send it back for repair, and it took quite a few months. And I agree. I love a flex nib with a distinct spring. Great daily writer. That's how I feel about these Aurora flex nibs. They're not really flex in the sense of like a flex writer. It's just a soft, very enjoyable, responsive nib. So I do enjoy it a lot. But originally I got this with an extra fine normal nib, and when I had to send this back for repair, I contacted Aurora and said I'd prefer to actually upgrade to the flex nib on this. The extra fine I just wasn't really jiving with. It's not the same experience. I think there's been a big change with the Aurora nib specialist and the extra fine standard nibs that I've tried in the past. were superb. This one left something greatly to be desired. So I decided just to switch back to the Flex. It's a Flex fine. I wish it was a finer writer. I wish it had more feedback, but it's still a delightful writing experience. And the pen is gorgeous. Like, I'd say out of my whole collection, this is the most stunning pen that I own. I love the aesthetic of it. I love the Volterra inspiration, and I think it gives a lot of liberties with the ink colors too, because the fact that it's mostly white, it has those cream sandy colors between the cracked ice, and then you can also pick up some green and blue chatoyance from the cracked ice Auroraloid. So I think this will be very fun to ink. But I did ink it with Aurora Sepia, which is the ink that the pen came with. Okay, then the last one of my currently inked is a Rust Pens. So this is Pale Moon wood material on the body and on the section. And the entire thing is lined with Ultem. And the cap is Ultem as well. It has a Jowo extra fine nib. A White Bear's marking is on it. And I have it inked with Alchemy Molten Bronze. I've really enjoyed the pairing, but I'm sure I'll mix it up on the future. I don't really like marry inks in the sense of once I find a pairing that I love, I keep it. I like to change it up. Yeah, I am sorry about that Aurora that came cracked too, and I really enjoy their nibs, but I'm also kind of disappointed that the nib specialists that have been working, it doesn't feel like a classic Aurora anymore, the nibs. I think the nibs themselves are, of course, still very well made and they have a very unique feel to them, but I think whoever's doing the nib work is dropping the ball, in my opinion. It doesn't have that lovely, perfectly tuned feedback, similar to that of Sailor. It's, yeah, it's just, at least for my vision of what I loved about Aurora, it's not the same anymore. Yeah, this is huge. So I wasn't expecting the pen to be this big when I got it, and I was just like very surprised. But I will say that it is comfortable in the hand. I do think for the like stature of this pen, it should have had a number 8 nib. I think the number 6 Jowo nib looks kind of dwarfed on a pen of this size. But it's a very striking, very cool pen, and I love wood. So Russ, who made this pen, has a lot of talent to be able to accomplish this, because it's not an easy thing to do, is my understanding. So I think it's a really cool pen. All right, so that is what I have for the currently inked. What I was going to talk about doing now is updating this. So these are both bottles, though this is a small bottle that came with my Volterra, and it came unlabeled. It had a little paper sleeve on it that said Aurora on it, Volterra, but no indication. I did a little research on Google. Turns out this is Aurora Sepia, and I think it's a 15 ml bottle, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, it's a bottle nonetheless. And then this is the Endless Alchemy Molten Bronze. I think this is, it doesn't say on the bottom. I think it's like a 30-40 ml. So I want to indicate that. That's what I've been doing lately. So I'm going to get my small acrylic block. These are my favorite ones to use. I get them from JetPens. And then what I do is I get this this stamp from Everyday Explorers Co. This is the currently inked clear stamp set. And the one that says bottle cartridge sample, the way she designed it was that you would stamp the entire thing and then check which one you're using. But I use it a little differently. I just indicate yes, I agree. I think the specialty, well, even not the specialty nibs have been inconsistent with the quality control from Aurora because like I said, I got an extra fine Aurora nib just as standard, and that was not that same Aurora perfection of tuning and feedback. So I think something is definitely going amiss there. And yeah, so the Aurora Sepia is your favorite brown. It's a really good brown. It's a really, really good brown. We can look at some swatches later of some browns that I have on hand, but yeah, it's a really good one. Okay, I'm continuing with the same ink stamp pad that I have been using. These are my favorite. I don't think there is any English indication of the color. I would have to look it up because I can't remember it. I should probably in the future make little labels to put on the bottom indicating the color. It just makes it easy to reference back. But basically here, as I flip it over, it says bottle sample cartridge. So this one was a sample, so let me stamp that one first. So basically when I stamp it, I just stamp that portion like this. You have 26 Auroras. I would love to see your collection. I love Auroras in principle, even though I've really been struggling with their quality control issues lately. I would love to get more, but I kind of am fighting that feeling because of the issues that have been happening. And then these two bottom ones are bottles. Oops, stamped it all, sorry. So what I was saying is once I finish the ink pairing, then I check it off, meaning that it's been ran dry like I did on these. Now, the other thing I do with my ink samples is I have a lot of them. I do samples more than I do bottles for sure, and I trade and I buy and all that. But I have them labeled, and then I always have this little kind of swatch on the top. So this is another thing I do that helps me keep track of things. When I refilled this pen with this ink pairing, I labeled that it was a sample, and then I finished the sample. So then I take this off, instead of throwing it away, I put it right here, indicating that this inking completed that sample pile. It makes it really easy for me to go back knowing that this sample is not gone, and I can archive my ink card, my ink swatch card of that ink, so that I know I don't have that anymore. That way when I go and I swatch, when I flip through my ink swatches looking for a pairing for a pen when I'm ready to ink it, I don't even bother looking at this one because it's gone. I know that I've finished it. So those are the currently inks. And right now, with these having been completed and cleaned out, I have 5 pens inked. And I think that's pretty good for now. So Sajad, I think that's how you say your name. If it's different, I apologize, is saying Aurora is the favorite brand. Stipula and Montegrappa are the other two. And of course, Sailor, the stellar 21K nibs, big and small. I very much agree. I don't have it inked, but I'm happy to share with you my stipula. I only have one, and it's definitely a favorite for me. So let me get it. This is the Stipula Etruria Volterra, and this is a limited also. I love pens that have the celluloid material, and this is very beautiful. I don't believe they do as many with the sterling silver bands and details hardware anymore. Originally, I still have the nib, but originally this came with an 18K gold 1.3 stub nib. I have that custom ground into a italic, and I use it on occasion, but it's definitely not an everyday writer. So separately, I bought this Stipula titanium nib, and I love titanium nibs. I love the feedback. And I also had this, I think originally, so this is a flex titanium nib by Stipula. Not super flexy, but it's springy. And I had this, it came like a medium fine, like a fine medium. And I had this ground into an extra fine by Mike Masayama as well. I love the writing experience. An interesting thing, just like as a side note, is it's a cartridge converter, which I like. I actually prefer that over Peston. But something about the celluloid makes that metal band in the cartridge go like ugly looking. It's probably like off-gassing something funky, or I don't know. Two things I wish they would improve on this pen model. Three, actually. So that's kind of a lot for a pen this substantial. But one, I wish the threads were smoother. They're actually quite sharp to my hand, and other than that, this is a superbly comfortable pen. So I'm very disappointed about that because it does bother me. And I'm thinking about getting a Stipula in the future that had the larger threads down here to address that concern. The other thing is that when I cap it like this and store it, it becomes uncapped a little bit. Like this loosens on its own. That's number two. It would have been nice if they had an inner cap. I don't have issues with this pen drying out, so I won't say that it was absolutely necessary, but I wish they had. And there's a lot of pens that actually they don't, and I don't understand. That's the I'll say for they should have gone with an ebonite feed. I enjoy my titanium nib as well. You're saying that they get mixed reviews. Yeah, it's depending on expectation. I think part of that might just be that when people hear the word flex, the expectations go through the roof. Be conservative. Do your research so that you're not disappointed when you get a pen that is not a true flex. I've never gotten a pen that is a true flex. So that's just something to keep in mind. This is not inked either, but this is another celluloid pen I have. This is a Omas Extra. It's a vintage, it's a lady size, or Dama, and it has a sweet 18K two-tone writer, a fine, it is quite broad, it's European. Back to Sajad's comment, I would absolutely adore to have a faceted Etruria with the threads at the beginning instead of back here. This is my only faceted pen, and it's a little writer, but it's a very sweet pen. I like it a lot. I like old original Omas. I don't think I'll ever buy a modern one. This one you can see there's quite a bit of body damage got done to it. It's in the Scarlet Celluloid. So, yeah, these aren't, you can't, some people do ink all their pens continuously. I find that if I do that, I lose track. They don't get shared equally and things dry up. I'm quite a stickler about keeping my pens clean and maintaining them properly. I feel very strongly about that. I think it shows respect to the pen itself. And these are beautiful items, and I want to take very good care of them. Is that the Burgundy Celluloid? Okay. I'll have to look into that as well, because I was under the impression it was Scarlet. Thank you for sharing that, though. Okay, so I finished this currently ink spread. I'm going to move on. I always save an extra page so that I used to do it like as I went, but then I'd have trouble finding the pages. So now I always do it as my first entry. And leave an extra page so that I can continue. So I'm ready to continue it and decorate the page as well. And yes, the Omas prices, the original Omas, and actually the new ones too, the prices are quite high. So that's it. It's really limiting as far as obtaining one. I've seen them secondhand for more reasonable prices, of course, but not cheap. It'll and usually the ones that are a more obtainable price are the ones that are less interesting. So like a black celluloid or something like that, a less intriguing color combination. Okay, so I'll take this off now, and we'll start a new currently ink spread. I still want to chat a little bit more about the inks and maybe do some comparisons with swatches. And I'm going to share a little bit more about my collection and discuss what pens will be staying inked long term and what pens I'm looking forward to inking up once the ones that I have that are getting close to being written dry. So I'm going to start with some Sterling ink stickers, and I'm doing a little bit different of a layout than the previous. I find that by doing these currently ink pages, it really helps me keep track of what I have inked. A lot of times I'll go to a pen meetup, or a show or something where I'm interacting with, other fountain pen users, and so they'll say, "Oh, I love that ink. What ink is that?" A lot of the times I can keep track because I don't usually have too many pens inked at once. Like right now, I mentioned I have 5 inked, but sometimes memory doesn't serve correctly. So I like to be able to have this with me to reference back to what I have inked. And I think it's also nice to be able to show someone the swatch of like a swatch that can show the ink a little bit more clearly. So those are a couple reasons why I enjoy doing that. This is a really long sticker, so it's giving me a little bit of trouble. There we go. I got these tweezers on Jet Pens, and I really like them a lot. I like that the flat end you can use to lay this down. So what I was saying before was I'm really enjoying doing these spreads with stickers and stamps. It makes everything more aesthetic and more enjoyable process, at least for me. Okay, so yeah, you try to ink no more than 6 to 7. On occasion, when I do a collection video, which I am actually getting very close to doing again because there's been quite a few changes to my collection. But yeah, when I do, I ink up all my pens because when I'm showing how my collection pens perform, I find that dipping your fountain pens to show performance is really not a good indication of how the pen writes. So that's also like when you go to buy a new pen and you dip test it, it's very tricky. It's often not an ideal way to identify how a pen writes. So that's why I like to give a true indication of as much as possible. And sometimes I even ink them exclusively with Waterman Serenity Blue. But I did that before, again, just to give a very accurate representation of how the pen and ink pairing performs. But then I have a whole bunch of Waterman Blue, which is really boring for me. So I often will ink a pen with Waterman Serenity Blue when I first get the pen to test its writing, which I think is very advisable. But I just find that, I don't actually like using that ink personally. Okay, now I've been using this bottle, and I think I'll continue with it because I think it's a nice size, whether it's a sample bottle or an actual bottle. So let me go back and see how I did this. Yeah, you just kind of go back and forth and overlap them. Yeah, I'm very particular about pens and how pens write. I know you can always get them custom ground, but I think, I want to have a real read. I would always not, if I can, let me put it this way. If I can buy a pen and have an in-house ground nib that writes superbly, I would always take that over getting it done by a nib meister or nib specialist. I think there's always something very unique about having an in-house done nib, both the the nib being made in-house and the what do you call it? The nib grind, I guess I'm trying to say itself. Okay, so Jod is asking, do I have a favorite blue ink? The one I mentioned before, the Collab ink with Dominant Industry and Wonder Pens. Chicken in the Sky with diamonds. I think the Sparkling Diamonds is probably the full name. Would be my favorite blue ink. And it's very similar to this Dominant Industry Atlantis ink. Very, very similar. It's a little more interesting in the sense I think there's a little bit more green, and I feel like it shades better too. But if you want like a comparison color, I'd say that's very close. I'm not like huge into blue inks, so that is my favorite one. I like that it's a collab with a small company, and I like the color itself, and it performs very well. Okay, so now I'm ready for more currently inks. just by getting this set up. And to me, that's part of how I am setting myself up to be successful for doing and following my currently inked, because once I run out of room to add and then you ink up a pen and it's not ready, the probability of you just not doing it and forgetting about it is much higher. So once these are finished, I'll check them off. But this is what I have inked at the moment. The next thing I'm going to chat about is what's almost finished first. So the Karis Vertex that I inked up with the Dominant Industry Atlantis, this one, I chest inked it up yesterday. So it was a full cartridge fill. This is my everyday carry, everyday writer. I use it in my planner. It's my go-to, just because it's robust and I don't have to worry about it. And I love the extra fine titanium nib. I think I mentioned this is an extra fine titanium Bach. It has a little bounce to it, but it's definitely not a flex. And so that's, I think it'll probably last like a month, I'm gonna guess. And then this sample will be done and over with. By the time that's done, so by the end of August, we're into September. I'll be switching back to the olive grip section on this pen instead of the blue one, and I'll go for a totally different colorway. Instead of like a summer blue vibe, I'll switch over to something more greenish yellow and murky, which I love. Then my Piniter, the Ruffles Gold, this one is going to be written dry probably this weekend, most likely. You can see the ink window, there's really not much left, just enough for maybe a page of writing or ish. So I'll probably be cleaning this out and not inking this up again at the moment. I'll be ready to switch to a different pen. I've had this inked up since I had it replaced because I had an issue with this pen as well. The cap band and this bottom section fell apart, which is crazy for a pen of this caliber, but I've been very disappointed with the quality control of the build of this Piniter in general. It's a gorgeous pen, that's why I still have it. Otherwise, I would have lost my mind on the issues. So that is that. And then the other one that I have currently inked is the Aurora Volterra with the fine flex. This I just inked up not long ago when I received it from repair, maybe 2 weeks ago, but I did do a short fill. So I'm going to keep this inked up, but I will be switching the ink up from the Aurora Sepia to something else. I'm not sure if it's going to be a brown or a different color. The Rust pens I just inked up also within the last week. So, and I did a short fill on this one too. So I'll keep this inked because it's a new pen and I'm experiencing it. But I'll probably switch up the ink on that as well to something like yellowish to go with the Ultima instead of brown for the wood. And then my Aurora Viola. This one, let's see. It's been a long time since this has been inked. I think because it's an extra fine, it lasts for a very long time. But there's still a lot of ink in there. There's probably a 1/4 mil left, I'd say. So I think that's going to last through the end of the season, to be honest, like right into the autumn. So then I have 2 pens, I think, coming up to switch out. So from what I don't have inked right now, there's the Viscontina. this Omas Extra Lady Dama, my Stipula Etruria Volterra. Yeah, so you're saying Pineider has had quality issues forever. I didn't really know about that. I wish I had. Okay, I'm gonna, just because we're kind of on a roll here, I'm gonna show you the rest of my, we're doing like a mini collection basically instead of a currently inked. But we did talk about the currently inked. One pen that I had inked up recently was my Mont Blanc, so I probably won't ink this up on the next round because it just rotated out basically. So the next one I think I might ink is my Pelikan White Tortoise, but I have switched the nib. So I took the modern nib out because this is a Pelikan 400. I put a vintage nib on there. It's a extra fine, but the in-house grind from Pelikan is kind of like a blade, and I love this nib. So this will be next for currently inked, and I love the color pairings. This is a beauty pageant. I love the color pairings of the yellow and the green for this pen. The ink explorations that I do with this pen, I just adore. So I'm looking forward to inking this. This will be next on my currently inked once my, coming up here, my Pineider is really close to being cleaned out, and then probably the Aurora Viola. Then I also have this lovely vintage Pelikan. It's also in an extra fine. This is the 100, I believe. Ebonite and celluloid. I need to ink this up too. It's been a while, but I do have a little bit of traveling coming up, so I probably will wait because I don't like to travel with this pen. That massive ebonite feed on it from that vintage is just crazy. So it does kind of, it doesn't do good for travel. Then I have this vintage Pelikan also. It's also 400. Has a cursive italic nib on it. By Masuyama. And also this vintage Pelikan. And this is the one I put the modern extra fine nib on. I'm not at all fond of the modern Pelikan nibs, so I just kind of rotate the nibs around, but I don't use it very often. So that is what I have coming up for my future currently inked, and now the next page is ready to go. So I'd like to thank you so much for joining. Let me know if you have any ink pairing recommendations for the pens that I mentioned coming up, and thank you for joining my live. I hope you enjoyed looking at the inks that I have currently inked up and my pens as well. I'll see you on the next one. It's all up to you now.